hope, as always, that anybody watching this is in good spirits and doing well. I apologize. I'm running just shy of about 10 minutes late. It's 10 after 8, but I have a very good reason for that. So I'm happy to report that I was really busy last night. I did a lot of readings, and it was crazy. A lot of the readings were quite profound. It's crazy when I do readings. I have some that it's like it pulls at your heart, like your heartstrings. You really empathize for that person because you get to know them and their story through the cards. And then there's also moments of laughter where people are jovial. And then by the end of the evening, after feeling all these different emotions, it felt good to go by Mickey D's. I ended up staying late. So I ended up working a little after 10 last night instead of just to 9. So the reason I'm late, I have a point, guys. So with the money that I made doing readings, I was just carrying it in my purse. I was thinking, man, this is cool, right? Like had a good night last night. So I went to the pet store with Tim, and for many years, even before I even thought of moving to Arnold, when my kids and I, with Tim, of course, lived in Lindbergh, as far as we were part of the, we were in the Afton area, part of the Lindbergh school district. I've wanted a banana ball python for so many years. I've even checked them out at like the reptile shows because I like to go to those and see all the different morphs and so forth. I saw tonight a ball python marked half off, and she is beautiful. So her name is Freya, and I'm spelling it like the old school spelling. So it's F as in Frank, Reyja. The modern day spellings without the J. But she's beautiful. She's used to being handled. So apparently I have adopted a snake that was a favorite of one of the pet shop keepers. So apparently this gentleman would walk around the store with her, and she's got the most beautiful fluorescent, like amber golden eyes. And I will post pictures in the group so you guys can check her out. But I wanted for that purchase with that money that I did work hard on doing it. It's like it's work, so it doesn't feel like work, but it's still work, right? Because you got to show up and do what's expected of you and really take good care of people with these readings. I wanted it to be for a worthwhile purchase. And when I saw her, I was insistent. I'm like, Tim, I want to pay for Freya, with the money I earned from doing readings last night. And he's like, of course. And so I had all my money counted out and I bought her, and I'm in love. Like, she is like right next to me. So she's in my room that I'm doing my go lives in. And so of course, with it being the first night, she's acclimating. So I'm not going to mess with her so that she can get used to her new home. But I will post pictures, and maybe if y'all are lucky, I will show her off on one of my go lives. I'll have to have her out and show you guys what she looks like. So anyhow, staying on subject. So yesterday I did a go live regarding the death card and the significance of how the death card had followed the hanged man, And so with the hanged man, our seeker was having to really gain a new perspective and leave behind the things that did not serve him and others well, and keeping what did serve him and other people well, and rethinking his journey and recharging. Okay. Death is about experiencing and going through these changes and beginning anew. So death in itself is a beautiful thing. And so tonight we're about to delve into the 14th card from the Major Arcana, which is Temperance. And I'm going to hold this up so you guys can take in the overall picture. And this is from the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I'm going to delve into some of the symbols, and we'll kind of go from there. So this is the Roman numeral for 14. And we see an angel. We're not sure if it's a male or female. And that is believed to be because, again, we are looking with this card about balance. It's duality. So it represents both male and female with the intent of the picture. However, again, in tarot, no matter if it's a male or female on the card, it's the overall energy of that card, and it applies to both sexes. So, just keep that in mind. So with the wing color, you're seeing a bit of black and you're seeing red. And so again, it's not just one color. So that again, we have a duality of color use here. So with the red, we've got authority and power and passion. And then with the black, we're looking at more of, how do I put this? It's like a finality. It's infinite, darkness. And I'm not necessarily saying that in like a bad way. Like, think about how it looks to look up at a really pretty starry sky at night, and the feeling that comes from looking at that little starry sky. It's a very peaceful, tranquil feeling, in contrast to red, which, like we've discussed in previous Go Lives, it's all about passion, power, authority. There's a bit more of excitement associated with red versus black. And so here we're seeing like a bit of a halo around the angel. And with the angel, that means divinity, okay? So this is a divine being. And then right here, it's the third eye. So I've referenced that as well, that is theoretically, it's your intuition. It's looking not just with your eyes, but with your third eye. Just like in the Go Live that I alluded to, Odin, how he purposely took one of his eyes out and he hung from the world tree for 9 days and 9 nights to gain a different perspective, because he realized that he wasn't fully seeing things for what they were and that the eyes can lie. So basically, this celestial being is using its third eye to obtain that insight, because we're at the part of the Fool's journey where, okay, so the Fool has got an idea of how he has figured his journey out, and he's got some pretty good idea about how he wants to move forward. So this card could be symbolic. This angel could be symbolic of our Fool trying to figure out how to maintain a balance. And by balance, we're talking about our conscious and subconscious mind. So remember that the cups are all about water and emotion in tarot. And here, it's like the infinity symbol. This is the flow of life. So this being is going to continuously transfer water over into the other cup, but he's got to maintain a balance to do this. Now, in the center here, so even though our hearts, now I'm speaking briefly like as a nurse, because I think about anatomy. So the heart's located on the left side of the body, but we're not going to trip out about that. In the middle of this figure, there is a rectangle. So that is the elemental symbol for fire, which is also synonymous with passion, right? It's also associated with being a bit reactive. So think of people who react easily to situations, very fiery personalities. They tend to say things without thinking them all the way through. That's what we're referencing with fire. And then with the square that goes around the fire element, think of that like a fence containing the fire. So it's like containing that fiery passion, because what we have here is a being who, I'm going to kind of go close here. They're looking downward. So they're just kind of in the moment, working on maintaining a balance and duality with our two cups. And they're not stressed out or anything crazy like that. They look more so reflective and very much at peace in their environment. Now, in the background, because I'm always telling you guys to look at the background, so we have the sun, which looks like a crown. It's very illuminated. So again, with illumination, that's clarity, insight, increased knowledge, perception. Leading to that, though, it's not a quick thing, right? So we still have this path along this journey. There's even some mountains in the background to finally reach success and to basically achieve our goals. So we've got a ways to go. So with one foot planted on the earth, that is very much symbolic of pentacle energy. So when you think of pentacles, you think of worldly things such as career, money, home, that kind of thing. But it's very much maintaining that objectivity, not completely having both feet in the water, because the water are emotions. Because the Fool wants to make sure that they're making the best decisions for themselves and the people around them. It cannot be one based out of selfishness and greed. It has to be best for all parties. And our Fool has grown considerably since we began with him at a 0. Okay, so now we're on the 14th card with our journey. And so this could be symbolic of our Fool. It could also be seen as somebody that the Fool encounters that is going to uplift the Fool's spirits and say, you know, this is how I think it's best to move forward. Just imagine the Fool having a conversation with this being and gaining the understanding. Because, you know, from an empathetic viewpoint, our Fool has learned so much overwhelming information on this journey. Literally, so many various things, and has had to answer for their bad decisions. They may have had some good outcomes too, but the Fool has been left reeling. So following the Hangman, okay, and then, you know, going through death, we are now to the Temperance, where, okay, so this is a new beginning. So it's like getting, you know, started on the right foot. In the background, again, it's very green. There's flowers, and they happen to be yellow. So this could be like the theoretical light bulb going off in the Fool's head, like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that perspective before. This is so cool. Like, thank you for sharing it with me. Like, me personally speaking, I love it when somebody's got a different perspective than me, because it challenges my thinking and I grow as a person. So I would imagine that's how the Fool may feel in this situation. The long white robe stands for purity. So this is a pure being. The gray, so in the background, it's a bit of a gray coloration that is purposely put there to stand for neutrality. So again, this being is not vested in the Fool, really. Whether the Fool succeeds or fails is entirely up to the Fool. This being was sent to help the Fool recover from what they've been through recently, right, with this journey. I'm going to look at my notes to see if I forgot to go over anything, because there's so many symbols with this card. So I'm going to hold this guy up as I look at my notes. I'm going to move my notebook over so you guys can focus on this. So we're looking at a lesson in balance, which we've talked about, which is the same as duality, reaching compromises. Okay, so in order to obtain our goals, you know, sometimes we have to make compromises to obtain them, right? Maintaining a state of equilibrium, which is another way of saying balance, moderation. There's also a lot of patience here. So again, we're not acting in a fiery way. This is a very thoughtful, just very patient stance of looking at things. Let's see here. And the feet, so I went into those about the physical versus the emotional world. And then the path is often seen as the course of life. So that is also symbolic of not only reaching our goals, but it also is reflective of the Fool's journey. And again, I always say it, but it's important to say, this is not a linear path. The Fool may fail and end up a couple cards back having to interact with some of these characters again. The Fool is not guaranteed to succeed. Let's see here. And we have, let's see here. So also evaluating and re-examining priorities. We talked about that. and balancing the inner and outer self. You know, because like I've told you guys, our mental health becomes our physical health. So if we don't take care of ourselves, it does manifest with various forms of illness and just not doing well. The water is also seen as infinity. And so with this water exchange, they also say it's like the conscious versus the subconscious mind. So with the subconscious mind, that's important to analyze as well, because we all, throughout our whole lives so far, have opinions of ourselves, some of which is very well based in the deeds that we've done. However, from the time that we've grown up till current, and I'm talking presently, if you've had people speak words that you have internalized that they were meant to hurt you, they were not said by people to help you grow, they were said to make you feel less than or hurt you. The sad thing is, if you hear it enough, you start to believe it and you internalize it, and it becomes part of your opinion of who you are. So that makes sense, even though in your head, objectively, you can think about it when you do what we call shadow work, when you're trying to work through past traumas in life, and you'll think, that doesn't make sense because I do A, B, C, and D. Like, what this person's opinion of me does not line up with what I believe I've done so far. But the two can collide at times, and it's painful to do shadow work. Especially, I tell people with children, when they're raising children, we must be careful with the words we utilize with our children, because they're very, I would say, perceptible. They're very intelligent, but the words we use, the way we treat them and explain various concepts to them, it forms the inner opinion of themselves. In addition to building on their rationality and the way they look at the world around them, it's defining who they believe they are as a human being. And we can do great harm to our children if we don't use kind words and have this patience. So when I see temperance, it reminds me of a lot of various things, but especially my parenting style and how I've always looked at treating my children as human beings worthy of respect. And yeah, sometimes I'm like, you'll do it because I tell you to do it as your mother, okay, depending on what the issue is. But most of the time, it's good to provide that rationality. That way they have the whys in their mind so that they can grow up to be hopefully good human beings to contribute toward a kinder society, right? That's what we're all aiming for. So that, in a nutshell, is the Temperance card. Very beautiful card. And our Fool needed that after some of these previous meetings with other characters on their journey. So here is another card. We'll delve into those, where we have this gentleman, and there's this energy, this life force. So it's a bit like an affinity symbol, but it's not like your characteristic. There's a bit of a flow to it, if you see that. And again, this is our whole lives with various things, okay, having to maintain a state of balance and patience and not be so reactive, right? And this is an angelic being. So you see the wings, and we see the illumination in the background. And so we're seeing the sun, just like we did with this original card in the background, and we discussed what that meant. So that's our illumination and insight, new beginnings. Just picture again the warmth on your face from the sun. And then, unfortunately, the other part to this is the moon. So the moon stands for things that are not known to us. We just don't have all the information. So this would be that subconscious doubt that's inside of us. It may not have a rational basis, but it's certainly there, and it does impact the way that we perceive ourselves in our environment. So very much looking at this angelic being, he is at peace with these two energies. He's looking forward at us. And I would say he's not very fancily dressed, but if you look here, he has that triangle surrounded by the square, and that's to contain that fiery passion. And I think that the artist chose to dress this man in just a tank top and his pants to show a very like a vulnerability with this unknown, as like our fool is finding this balance. They're going to question themselves, like, am I doing the right thing, you know, because that self-doubt is still very much there, which again is the subconscious. But it shows that there is illumination and beautiful color, and the universe does impact things. So we have to realize, despite our best efforts, life will happen and we have to adjust. And I think that would definitely be a conversation between the fool and this angelic being about, hey, this is what I know about compromise and moderation and maintaining balance. But just keep in mind, seeker, your journey will change the further along you progress, and the answers may not seem so forthright. Okay, here we have our crow. And again, this little guy, he's maintaining a balance. So because he doesn't have hands like a human being, I imagine he alternates picking up one cup and transferring the contents into another. And then here he's got the angel wings. So even though he's a winged being, this shows that he's divine. So this is like our creator. This is the cosmos. We've got that beautiful growth, which looks like yellow, like little, what is it? My mom would know because she's a flower lady. I believe those are like dandelions, maybe, I believe, or lilies, the little Easter lilies. I think that's what those are. Very green and abundant. We certainly do have water. Okay. So with this little guy, he's got 1 foot in the water, the other on the land, to maintain that balance between the objective earth, which is our pinnacles, and our water, which is our cups, emotions. And then it's got that symbol again, showing the importance of not being reactive and being thoughtful in actions and containing that fiery, erratic way of being. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful card. And then here, oh, I almost flew out of my hands. So here we have the 2 cups. And here it's like, again, new roots. So it's like we're planting something, like a little seed. And we're watching those plants. We're going to tend to it and do the work and watch our plants grow and ideally be productive and abundant, right? So here's that balance on what we're working on. And then it shows that it's taking good root within the earth. And here it appears to be a lady, and she's got flowers in her hair. So it just shows just that growth. And she appears peaceful, you know. And so ideally, this is the state that temperance, like somebody in a temperance type state, would be in. So think of people who do yoga, okay? They very much on purpose do all these various poses and meditate to obtain their mental clarity, and you know, they're very flexible and generally in good shape. They put in a lot of work to do that. So this is somebody like that. Kind of gives me a few hermit vibes, just being alone and gaining the insight and forethought, you know, because I'm sure the fool's reflecting on his hermit time as well. But here it just shows nothing in particular. So we don't have any growth or vegetation. We don't have that rectangle, or triangle. I said there was the wrong shape. The rectangle, or not the rectangle, I'm sorry, triangle with the square. Guys, I'm brain farting. It's been a good day, but sometimes I brain fart. And then other than that, I think that's the main thing that we get from this card, honestly. And then I always leave it with this guy. Let me hold it up here. So here, I like her style. She looks very edgy. I like the haircut. The eyes appear a bit dark. So it doesn't appear like this is an angelic being. If anything, this represents somebody like me and you. Like we are flawed human beings. So this is somebody doing the best she can, and she's her own person. So she's taking off a mask, which could be like a raven or crow's mask, which means, being clever, wise, it could be a front. So, it's kind of like when you go to work and you don't feel great, but you do your job and you're pleasant with people, even though on your inside you don't feel so great. Well, at this point in time, she's chosen to take off the mask and be very much vulnerable while she listens to this little guy, the little sparrow, which is the youth is like telling her, hey, like, this is how I see things and I want to help you. And she's just taking the time to listen and take that advice in. And then around her, there appears to be like ribbon that also appears to be maybe like a type of greenery or growth. So I think that does show that personal growth that we've been talking about. So even though, like, no matter where your tarot journey takes you, and as you look at the various decks, you will see themes carry over. Sometimes some of the symbols carry over, sometimes not at all. If you get one not based in Rider-Waite-Smith. And I would say after, on your journey with tarot, like, right now I'm telling you guys, if you're brand spanking new to tarot and you want to read, you get that first deck. It has, I would highly recommend it's based in Rider-Waite-Smith. It's going to be easier for you to learn from. But let's say you get brave as you go along your tarot journey. And let's say you see this really cool deck, but it's not a Rider-Waite-Smith, but you want to learn it. One thing you can do is you take out the card from the Rider-Waite-Smith. Then you take out the card from the deck that you really love because just the vibe, the art really resonated with you. Put them side by side. Look for the similarities. Because again, this is not a race. We're not trying to race through, trying to learn everything about tarot. Because I'll tell you what, I've been at this for years. I've read books on it. I've done readings for myself and others, blah, 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 of course. I'm still learning about the symbols. That's the cool stuff about tarot. It's so rich with different religions, symbols, different interpretations. That's why it's so important that you intuitively develop your reading. I mean, yeah, look at the included book. Everybody still references that at times, but it's more so important to intuitively look at these cards and be aware of how they make you feel and take in the detail. So that wraps us up on Temperance. And then tomorrow I'll go ahead and do another go live like normal. So for Saturday at 8 p.m. I will be on, well, I'll see, I'm getting lost in my words again. I'll do another go live, but this time it will be the controversial devil card. So we will delve into what the devil means, and it may shock you. It's probably not what you're thinking. For people who are novices and don't know, we'll go into what the devil means. And I hope that this finds you well. Tomorrow in the St. Louis area, we're supposed to have some really pretty warm weather. Make sure you get out there and spend some time in nature and get some deep breaths in and be present and take in that sunshine, because it's supposed to be cold on Sunday. So that might be a better day to be at home versus tomorrow would be a good day to get out. And yeah, look out for pictures of my snake in the group. I'll share with you guys. And, I care about y'all, and I hope you're doing well again. And yeah, have a good Friday night. Bye.